breaking down all 23 things you missed from Survivor Season 44, Episode 7. We're talking all things Jam Jam versus Matt, the crazy key search advantage, Jeff splitting the group in half, Frannie crushing the challenge, and much more. Anyways, careful for any spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet, and hot take, I just gotta say I really enjoyed this episode of Survivor. Make sure to stick around as we announce last week's giveaway winner. No one claimed this one-of-a-kind puzzle last week, so if you want to enter next week's giveaway, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below your winner pick of the season. Let's get started with number 23, Merge Tribe back to camp. They all return from camp after the Mergatory Tribal Council. They're officially merged together now. Obviously, that means everyone's officially made the merge now. They're all given their merge buff, but for some reason, making the merge won't last for long as we're about to split the groups back in half. We'll talk about it when we get there. You're probably expecting me to be pretty negative on it, but it wasn't that bad. Jam Jam saw his name written down for the very first time last Tribal Council, so he's trying to use humor as a way to deflect it. Number 22, merge name. And talking about Jam Jam, he's using that humor when the group's trying to decide on a merge tribe name, and he's like, hey, let's just be Tribe Jam Jam. Ultimately, they go with Vava, which just means 4-4 in Fiji, but they realize two people are missing. Number 21, Frannie and Matt. You know what? I could be way off with this situation, but I think Frannie may be friend zoning Matt a little bit here. Not because of this specific moment. What happens later in the episode, I'll bring it up when we finally get there. Really, this episode is an emotional roller coaster going through their showmance as Matt is finally having some power in the game, leading into number 20, Matt's cocky. Matt's flying a little bit too close to the sun. He's about to get burned. As one, he can finally vote at Tribal Council. This is really the only good news that's about to come for Matt, as he lost his vote twice in the very first episode. He's finally allowed to vote again. Number 2 has a hidden immunity idol, or really he thinks he has a hidden immunity idol. Ultimately, it's a fake idol that he found on the Soka bird cage. As number 3, Brandon explains to Matt the bird cage is supposed to have a real and fake idol. Once again, Brandon's exposing the bird cage twist and kind of ruining it. Dalton Ross explains on Twitter the producers are probably pissed Brandon keeps ruining the bird cage. But then number 4, Matt realizes Danny has the real idol. Matt clues in that when he first found that Soka idol, it was Danny that clued him into the right direction. Number 19, war between green and orange. Although everyone's finally living together on this merge beach, there's gonna be a war forming between the orange Ratu tribe and the green Soka tribe. We're gonna be having Danny from the green tribe target Lauren from the orange tribe because he knows that she has an extra vote in the game. What's kind of interesting about Danny here is obviously he brings up this plan in front of his green tribe mates, but he also brings up this plan with Kane from the orange tribe and Carson from the purple tribe. This is gonna lead into a civil war between Danny and Matt as number 18, Danny versus Matt. Things are never that simple in Survivor. Although Danny's targeting Lauren, we're gonna see Matt also target Danny for giving him the fake idol. Obviously, not much of this is gonna have any impact as we're about to split into 2 groups, but I'm thinking this is gonna be possible foreshadowing for future episodes with the targets being Lauren or Danny next week. Number 17, Carson in middle. And somehow Carson always finds his way in the middle of all these players, as Carson knows all the plans here of either taking Lauren or Danny out of the game. Obviously, Carson's gonna bring this knowledge to his alliance of Carolyn and Jam Jam, ultimately meaning this purple Tika alliance is gonna be in control of the Ratu versus Soka war and who's gonna win in the end. But then we get a big twist, putting this whole Ratu versus Soka war on hold as number 16, immunity and reward. I don't know about you, but I love me some good old balancing individual challenges. I can always picture myself one day competing in these challenges, as you gotta balance a ball at the end of a pole and at regular intervals going down a balance beam. If at any point the ball drops or you fall off the balance beam, then you're out. And the rewards can be fairly simple, but also filling with some PB&J sandwiches, some chips, and some iced tea. I'm just gonna throw it out there, no hate, but Canadian iced tea is way better than American iced tea. Number 15, the twist. Before we go any further, talking about the elephant in the room, the whole conversation this season has been way too many advantages and twists. Do I think we needed to have this twist this episode? No, of course not at all. But at the same time, I actually didn't mind it and think it worked out really well for the episode. And surprisingly enough, the Survivor specialist actually enjoyed the twist. Jeff says first time in Survivor history, blah blah blah, whatever. It's actually kind of a throwback to 2007 with Survivor Fiji. Obviously, there's a few changes along the way, but it's basically the same thing as that twist we saw in Survivor Fiji. Jeff also says for the first time in Survivor history, the players will have safety without power, which I guess Jeff also forgot safety without without power is an advantage he put in the game in Winners at War. Anyways, directly after the merge, these players are going to be randomly divided into 2 teams of 5, where the last person standing in each group is going to win individual immunity for themselves, but the last person standing overall is going to win immunity for that whole group. Meaning that winning tribe is not only going to be getting PB&J sandwiches, but also gets to sit on the tribal council to see what's going on. If somehow you remember way back in 2007, this was when Michelle Yee was screwed over and voted out of the game. Number 14, idle plays. As we go into commercial break just before the challenge starts, it's probably a good time to plug idle plays. If you've been thinking about checking out any of the replica challenges, I would do that now as we're nearing the end of the season. And on top of that, it's been a true grind keeping up with all your support. So like seriously, thank you so much for all the support. And I gotta give a special thank you to the person who placed an order last week for literally 2 of every single puzzle. The classic and most popular is always that fire puzzle, but we have tons of options. For this week only, if you purchase a fire puzzle, then your second replica challenge, and I mean any of the challenges I offer, I'll give you a 20% off. Just make sure to use the code INCAP Survivor20 at checkout. Go to the first link in the description or idleplays.com to check it out. Number 13, the teams. On the orange tribe, we're gonna have Heidi, Kane, Frannie, Carolyn, and Danny. And on the purple tribe, we're gonna have Lauren, Jam Jam, Jamie, Matt, and Brandon. Carson grew the gray rock, which means he has to go all in on a tribe if they win or lose, and he's gonna go with the orange tribe. This is gonna be important later in the video, breaking down the tribal council, but everyone's separated here. For starters, number 1, Jam Jam is not with his Tika alliance. Number 2, Frannie's not with Matt. And number 3, Danny's not with his bro alliance, Brandon. Number 12, the challenge. Almost right away, the entire orange tribe falls out of the challenge. It's Frannie versus the entire purple tribe. Well, technically Frannie versus the purple tribe except for Lauren. Frannie proves how tough she really is. Being the last person standing means she's safe no matter what. Ultimately, we get a good old showdown between Frannie and Brandon. And hear me out for a quick second, it would have been better for either of these two if they dropped out of the challenge. Both of them made it the furthest in their group, which means they're safe. They get individual immunity no matter what. So that means if Frannie drops out, she gets to keep herself and Matt from the other group safe. And it's even better because it puts a target on Danny, who she was plotting against. And if Brandon drops, it keeps himself safe and his bro alliance Danny safe as well. Ultimately, Frannie wins immunity and screws over Matt. Number 11, reward time. We're gonna be jumping between these two groups for the rest of the episode, and this tweet brings up a good point. This is basically a tribe swap, not a merge. As they're enjoying their PB&J sandwiches, they notice a small little note sitting there that they have to wait until they're done the food to open. I thought maybe this is letters from home. Ultimately, it ends up being an advantage. This group of winners ultimately thinks it's gonna be either Jam Jam or Matt voted out tonight. Number 10, Frannie friend zones Matt. For these videos, I normally don't include specific confessionals in these points, and I may be thinking a little too much into it, but I'm gonna be calling this a one-sided fake showmance between Matt and Frannie, as obviously Matt has feelings for Frannie, but I don't think Frannie feels the same way, as she literally says, "I feel like I put my best friend in this game going home." Number 9, Carolyn's emotional. It's tough because this episode's gonna be getting so emotional, it feels so real, as Carolyn feels absolutely powerless, not being able to help out her tribe member Jam Jam. It's a running theme throughout these recaps that once we get to tribal council, I always complain about them. That's not the case this recap. You'll see when we get there, but I actually really enjoy the tribal council. Number 8, old Soka camp. Brandon put some respect on Frannie's name for being a beast in that challenge, and he's gonna end up breaking down the dynamics of the group. We're first gonna have the majority alliance in power in this group, the 3 orange Ratu members, Lauren, Brandon, and Jamie. We then have Matt on his own without an alliance, and then we have Jam Jam on his own as well. But Jam Jam's playing this game hard. He brings up a really good point with Lauren on a reason to get Matt out of the game. For starters, it's gonna weaken the Soka tribe, which is good for Lauren, as a Soka tribe member Danny has been targeting her. And then number 2, obviously it separates the Frannie and Matt showmance. Number 7, note twist. Possibly an explosive hot take, but I was actually a fan of this scene. Basically, there's a bunch of keys hidden around the camp. One key is gonna work to open up the bird cage and get an advantage. This felt like an intense reward challenge with some intense music, editing, and drone shots the whole time. Kane feels like a sloppy Sasquatch here, and I'm gonna get some hate for saying this, but I love the twist this episode. Although I would obviously prefer if everyone's voting together, I really like how we only have one person going home tonight and all the emotions with all the players. And I don't know, this key finding twist felt like a mini reward challenge. As number 6, Heidi finds the advantage. This is gonna be the control your vote advantage, meaning Heidi now has safety and she has power in this game. How I initially thought this advantage would work and how it ends up working out are two slightly different things. Heidi gets to pick one of the people voting tonight and specifically tells them who to vote for. I thought it was gonna be more like a whisper, no one would know specifically what Heidi said, but of course not, that's way too easy. We'll talk more about this when we officially get to talking about the tribal council, but this was the one part of the episode I didn't like. Number 5, Matt in a tough spot. We actually got a Matt and Frannie showmance montage here, so I thought for sure Matt's in trouble. Steven Fishback thought the same way. And he feels so close to death in this situation as he actually forgot his bag, including his shot in the dark and his fake hidden immunity idol. We actually knew about this earlier in the episode, but I decided to not talk about it then, talk about it here instead, as I really first thought that was just gonna be a throwaway line. The producers would obviously give Matt back his advantages. But no, I guess not. Lesson to all future Survivor players, always bring your advantages with you to every single challenge. Number 4, Matt and Jam Jam. Instead of taking the easy road and just voting for each other and hoping for the best, they're gonna try and strategize together. They're thinking about working together and maybe targeting Lauren. Obviously, this is just a misdirection. It's gonna come down to Jam Jam or Matt. Number 3, Heidi explains the advantage. Frannie is super pumped about this because this means they have the opportunity to possibly save Matt. She wants Heidi to force one of the players to vote for Jam Jam, guaranteeing him a vote. Danny has a different approach, maybe using this opportunity to take Lauren with her extra vote out of the game. This was an awesome breakout episode for Heidi, and I really couldn't figure out who was going home because of this advantage. Number 2, Tribal Council. I'm gonna be throwing out another spicy hot take, but I loved this Tribal Council. And ultimately, I think the reason I'm so high up on this episode is because how it ended with this Tribal Council. It just felt so real. If you've been following me for any period of time, you know I always hate these new era Tribal Councils with all these metaphors, all this blah 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 blah. It was different this time. This one was so real. If you end the episode in an emotional and good way, it's gonna leave a good taste in the mouth and make everything else feel better. We have such an awkward scene as Matt asks Frannie if she brought his bag. Obviously, she nods her head no. We got a bunch of players crying here as Matt, Jamie, Carolyn, and Jam Jam are all crying, and tons of people walking at home are shedding some tears as well. And really, we gotta give a big thank you to all these players, and especially Matt for keeping it real this episode, saying how they really felt, not some dumb metaphors. If there's one thing I would have changed, it would have been Heidi's advantage, the power she has to control someone's vote. Just tell that person in private so no one else knows the decision. She ends up telling Lauren to vote for Jam Jam, but because this is public knowledge, it could have changed the way everyone else voted. Number 1, Matt voted out. In such an emotional way this episode, without any metaphors, I hope we see more tribal councils like this. Anyways, congratulations Jarrell, you're this week's giveaway winner. I'll announce a new winner next week, and click right here for the best thing about every season of Survivor.